goes in. Big up yourselves, guys, for coming through each and every time. And guys, big up for those of you that come onto the stream yesterday with myself and Fitz. Um, Listen, wrestling stream, man. Wrestling's been a big part of my childhood. The same with Fitz as well. And yeah, as I said, man, it was a good stream yesterday with myself and Fitz. I think we went for almost 3 hours, just discussing the wrestling. And then obviously at the end, we touched on Manchester United versus Bournemouth as well. But yeah, man, as I said, we'll definitely try and do another stream again involving the wrestling. But yeah, no, big up to everyone that came through. And as I said, man, big up to you guys each and every time. Big up my guy Fitz for coming through as well each and every time. And yeah, bro, I checked the original pipe bomb, man, CM Punk. So yeah, man, I think from yesterday, from what we said, I think definitely, man, CM Punk has to be up there with John Cena and The Rock when it comes to mic skills, man, no doubt. But yeah, big up, man. Big up to Babs One Diva as well. And big up to Football Reactions FC as well. Big up, man. But guys, listen, we're going to touch on something. There's been some mad news coming out, lately. I know there's been a few people already that's been touching on it, and obviously I'm going to have my say. But it's been crazy, man. Even, if you think of the Kylian Mbappe news, Kylian Mbappe to receive over 50 million in unpaid wages from PSG due to the contract situation that he had. I thought Mbappe wasn't going to get given that money, if I'm honest, but obviously looking like he's won his case. And to be honest with you, to receive 50 million from PSG for unpaid wages, and then you're looking at the contract that he's on at Real Madrid as well. I mean, Kylian Mbappe, man, is just laughing all the way to the bank, man, because yeah, it's crazy, man. It's actually crazy to think that he's getting all that kind of money, man. And yeah, man, he's laughing. He's laughing. The sign-on fee he got from Real Madrid on the free transfer, and now he's going to be receiving over 50 mil. So crazy, man. We're going to touch on just quickly the Kobe Manu. Again, people have been having their say on the Kobe Manu news, and then we're going to get on to the Bruno Fernandes interview as well. Now, the whole thing with Kobe Manu, I mean, we did touch on it slightly yesterday, but the thing with Kobe Manu, I mean, in terms of his brother, wearing the top that says Free Kobe Manu, I mean, I like to look at things like that, yeah, as a bit childish. And the reason I say it's childish is because when people ask me, are you Amarim in or Amarim out? I look at the situation with the Kobe thing. These things are all childish. It's just doesn't really do anything good for Manchester United. And in theory, it doesn't really do anything good for Kobe Minu in that sense. But guys, I did say at the start of the summer, it was always going to come to this. And I'm not surprised that, there's been a situation now where how does Amarim now view Kobe Minu since his brother come out with the T-shirt saying Free Kobe? Now, again, we're not going to know if Kobe sanctioned his brother to do that. The fact that Kobe hasn't come out and said, his brother got it wrong, etc. People might say, well, if he hasn't come out and denied it, then he's in the wrong as well. I think Kobe's just keeping himself to himself. He knows he's not in favour with this manager. And I think he's just, keeping it on the down low, really, irrespective of what people might say in the fact that he's not come and condemned his brother for doing that. But as I said, guys, this was always going to come to this because you've got, the best talent coming from the youth from the academy since Mason Greenwood. You've got a player that, because this manager wants to play the 3-4-2-1, he's been hung out to dry, really, yeah? And the fact that this manager, Ruben Amorim, has been performing the way he has, yeah, it was always going to be Kobe versus the manager for me. And I always said that at the start of the summer. When Kobe wanted to move and the club decided to keep Kobe Minu, that was the eye-opener to say that things are going to happen during this season where, the manager or Kobe Minu, something's going to be said, And as you can see now, there's going to be a bit of friction now between Kobe and the manager, Ruben Amorim if there isn't friction anyway. Yeah. So again, man, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And the fact that Kobe come on the other night against Bournemouth, very good performance. But obviously, his performance now is going to be overshadowed by what his brother done in terms of the t-shirt. For me personally, I haven't really got a big problem with it. I just think it's just bringing more negativity onto the club. And I'm looking at Ineos. I'm looking at Ineos really because Ineos should have known that it was going to come down to either Kobe or to the manager. So if they believed in Kobe, then they would have done something in regards to the manager, and then vice versa. If they believed in the manager, yeah, they would have let Kobe go on loan, and then this situation wouldn't have come about. But what Kobe's done now is give the manager a problem because he come on and played well, even though it was a 4-4 draw. Casemiro suspended against Aston Villa. So it's either going to be he plays Kobe or he plays Ugarte next to Bruno. Now, although I think Aston Villa will win that game, if he plays Ugarte and Bruno, I mean, you might as well just write the scoreline right now. If the manager's going to choose the fact that his brother has come out and done that, and literally, if he's got a problem with Kobe in regards to that, then again, what's going to happen in January? So again, a lot of it's going to come down to Ineos for me. But what I would say is, why are we surprised that this is happening? I'm not surprised because I could always see this happening really. And as I said, what side are you really going to pick? Are you going to pick a failing manager, or are you going to pick an academy prospect that should be playing? And he's only not playing because of how this Ruben Amorim sees football, and how he's choosing to not include Kobe and give him more minutes. People might say as well, Kobe come on against Bournemouth. And again, people need to read between the lines with what Ruben Amorim does, yeah? The fact that Kobe came on for Casemiro was odd in the first place, yeah? But don't be fooled that he's bringing on Kobe Minu to appease fans, because he's bringing Kobe on when the team are 3-2 down. And it's one of them things to say, look, I gave Kobe game time and he didn't do much. The fact that Kobe's come on and played well, he's made Amorim look stupid in that sense. But again, people shouldn't be getting carried away or getting fooled by the fact that he brought Kobe on, because the facts are this manager doesn't rate Kobe Minu, and as I said, man, it's one of them things for me that, like, time's gonna tell at the end of the day. Time will tell, and I think January is gonna be key, because if this manager somehow survives long enough and Kobe doesn't go out on loan, that's going to be a year wasted for Kobe, even though we know he wants to go out on loan. So, again, it's going to be down to Ineos, and Ineos are going to have to choose Kobe Minu or Ruben Amorim in this next January transfer window. So, yeah, that's going to be something to look out for, man. So, yeah, but let me know what you think, guys. Make sure you're smashing the like button. Make sure you're subbing to the channel as well. But again, just wanted to touch on the Kobe Minu thing. As I said, the whole thing's very childish, but then again, I'm not really surprised that it's really come to this. So, and again, Manchester United becoming a laughing stock once again. But why are we not surprised? Moving on to another laughing stock, Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, Bruno Fernandes. This is a player that divides opinion. And for me, I've always been consistent, and I will never change my mind. Because the thing with me, when I have my opinion, I always stick to my opinions, because I'm one of them people that I don't just say things in the heat of the moment or just for the sake of it. I can always back up why I think certain things. And although, people will be getting carried away with Bruno's goal, the free kick, which was a great free kick, no doubt. And again, Bruno has that in his game. He has moments, but Bruno, for the majority of games, just doesn't show up, And it's one of them things where he's obviously done an interview, which I believe might have been a couple of weeks ago, which obviously has come out now. And again, the timing of the interview doesn't make sense. and it has to be said, what is Bruno trying to gain from what he's trying to allude to, yeah? Again, I've written down some notes, guys, yeah, which I'm going to go through, but I'm not going to go on to Bruno's comments itself, yeah? I'm just going to go on to, what he's trying to allude to in terms of the interview he done. Now for me, Bruno Fernandes, as I said, does divide opinion. And the stance that I have with Bruno Fernandes, would Manchester United be a better team off? Would Manchester United be better without Bruno Fernandes? For me, I would say 100%. And I'll tell you why, yeah? People always say, Bruno gets goals, he gets assists, yeah? Which again, context is never applied to Bruno Fernandes, yeah? Because as we've already mentioned, you've got a player in Bruno Fernandes that is, when it comes to set pieces, yeah, he's on more or less every corner, every free kick, and penalties. So again, a lot of these stats are built up through set pieces. If you check, generally in play, how many assists does he actually do from just general play? Obviously people might say strikers are not finishing off the chances, etc. And guys, I will get back to some of your comments as well. Just once I've finished saying what I've said. How many goals does Bruno Fernandes actually set up during play? And people might say, the strikers are not finishing off their chances, but just general play, he doesn't really create that much. A lot of these supposed stats that he gets are generally from set pieces, yeah. Or in someone else, in other players' cases, he might play someone the ball, they might take it round one or two players and score. And because Bruno was the last person that passed the ball to that player, he then gets credited with the assist. So a lot of these things, yeah, that people credit Bruno with, is part of the reason why he does divide opinion. I'm looking at Bruno Fernandes in his Manchester United team right now, yeah, and it's quite clear to me that he doesn't have a place in his team. He definitely doesn't play in a two in midfield in this system in a 3-4-2-1. And people will say he's a number 10. And I'll reiterate, Bruno Fernandes is not a number 10. There's a difference between being a number 10 and playing in that role. So he played in that role under Solskjaer, yeah, but that doesn't mean he's a natural number 10. Bruno Fernandes is a number 8 in a 4-3-3, yeah? So they're the first things that we need to kind of, understand about players. He's not a number 10. And even more in this system, he would actually struggle in this system because if he plays as a 10, as a left 10, let's say, in this system, the left 10 requires different responsibilities, which Bruno hasn't got. Bruno's not good in tight spaces. He's not good in a half turn. He's not good with his back to goal. He hasn't got skill. He hasn't got pace. He's not good in 1v1 situations. So all those requirements there are needed in this system from a left 10 or a right 10, which he hasn't got. Yeah. So to say that Bruno, I heard someone yesterday say that Bruno's the best number 10 in the league, maybe in Europe. Again, this is idiotic, and I'll tell you why it's idiotic, yeah? Because there isn't many teams in this league that play with number 10s. That's a fact, yeah? The only teams really that play with a number 10, you would probably say, because again, a lot of the systems are more or less a 4-3-3 system, There ain't too many teams that play with a natural number 10. You might go to Arsenal, they've got Odegaard and Eze who play in that role. But would you have Odegaard and Eze ahead of Bruno Fernandes? I possibly would. And again, if we're putting numbers to the side, because numbers is the only thing that Bruno Fernandes is defended with, yeah? But you've got Eze and Odegaard. Odegaard is more of an 8. Eze's a 10, but doesn't really play there as consistently. Then you go to Chelsea. Cole Palmer's playing in the 10, but he's probably more of a right winger. But again, you can say Cole Palmer. Gibbs White, you can say as well. Morgan Rogers, another one, is a 10, but he's playing more from the left for Aston Villa in their system. Liverpool, you got Florian Wirtz as a 10, but they don't really play that system, And then you got, I'm trying to think, who else is there? Newcastle don't play with a 10, really. So again, a lot of teams don't really play with a natural number 10. So to say that Bruno Fernandes is the best number 10 in the league is kind of disingenuous, really, because the league is not full of number 10s, really. The game's gone away from that. And this is the biggest problem with football today. So again, Bruno can play in a 10, but he's not a 10, not natural number 10. And again, this system, people that are calling for him to be played in the number 10 don't really understand the requirements from a player in that position. He'll be even more exposed in that position. Yeah, because as I said, this system requires a different responsibility. So the answer is with Bruno Fernandes is to just drop him altogether. But this manager's never going to do that. Yeah. Now let's just get on to sorry, one second. See some breaking news. So Keir Starmer urges Abramovich to transfer 2.5 billion from sale of the club to Ukraine. Crazy, crazy. So yeah, guys, we're gonna get on to some of Bruno's some of the comments from the interview. Well, not his comments, but what he was kind of alluding to. So go through some of your chats quickly and your comments, guys. Make sure you're smashing the like button and make sure you're subbing to the channel as well. Let's see. So yeah, I agree. Kobe's brother isn't helping anyone in this situation, but I get it. I'd be ready to go to war for my brother in this situation too. I hope I'd have the sense to understand the scale of the club. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And this is why I'm saying this is more on Ineos, because anyone could see that this was going to happen in terms of there was going to be a situation at the club, where something like this was bound to happen. Kobe wanted to go because he knew Amarim didn't rate him like that. And the fact that Ineos didn't step in and say, look, Kobe has to play, or we're going to choose Kobe and get rid of the manager, or vice versa. This is more on Ineos for me, because Ineos should have been aware to this. And now all you're getting is immaturity from, you would say, from the brother. And then now it just brings the club into disrepute yet again, and embarrassing. You know what I mean? So these things were always going to happen, unfortunately. 4-3-3 against Villa. Kobe, Bruno, and Casemiro in the middle. Mark my words. Cas can't play, bro. He's suspended. Yeah, Casemiro is suspended. So again, if he's gonna play Ugarte, Bruno, and Kobe, that could be even worse, because you can't play Ugarte as the deepest lying midfielder because the guy ain't got no feet. So yeah, it's gonna be. But obviously them lot are going off to AFCON. So you know what? I can't see what team he's gonna play. That's the actual truth, because really and truly, as I said before, he should really play Patrick Dorgu and Shea Lacey. If he was to stick to the formation that he's been playing, with the left-footed players playing out from the right, then the only players that are left-footed in this squad is Patrick Dorgu and Shea Lacey. But we know he's not going to do that. So yeah, I just don't know what he's going to do. But yeah, Casemiro can't play. And missing Casemiro against Aston Villa is a massive miss. And again, Ruben Amorim has almost embarrassed himself, because remember against was it before the Grimsby game? Yeah, Ruben Amorim had the cheek to come out and tell us that Kobe Minu is competing with Casemiro for a place in the team, competing with Bruno Fernandes for a place in midfield, and then all of a sudden he brings on Kobe Minu to play with Bruno Fernandes against Grimsby. So again, his words are now coming to bite him, because he's going to have to probably play Bruno Fernandes and Kobe Minu. Now, if he doesn't play Kobe, he's going to play Ugarte. And are you guys going to be confident seeing Ugarte and Bruno against Aston Villa in that midfield? Because I'll tell you this now, you might as well just write the game off right now. Simple as that. But again, does he go to a 4-3-3? I'm not sure. I don't really know what he's going to do. That's the honest truth, man. So we'll have to just strap in, man, and just wait. Where's this one? Let's see. If Cobby leaves, we'll see more academy players leaving as long as the manager is here. But bro, listen, been saying this for a while, man. Like if you're a youngster right now, yeah, why would you be believing in this manager? That's the truth, yeah. Because again, we've all heard about the comments that he's come out with on the academy players. You know, the likes of Cheeto and Harry Amas. And the very fact that those two players were putting things up and then having to delete them, it just shows you that the respect they have for this manager is not there. And the manager has himself to blame because he doesn't understand what this club's all about. You know, he's come into the club thinking that he can just do things his own way. And all of a sudden now, yeah, these players, these young players are now starting to question his authority. And you can't really blame them. Obviously, they have taken down the posts, but the very fact that they had the nerve to do that in the first place just shows you that they don't believe this manager. There's no respect there, you know. Could you imagine them doing that to a Ferguson or doing that to a Louis van Gaal? Like, that would never happen. So that just shows you how they see this manager. And I can't really blame them because the manager has brought this all on himself for me, you know. But yeah, listen, I heard JJ Gabriel wants to move on. You know, he's meant to be one of the next up and coming stars. But again, you're not really gonna get any game time under this manager if you're a youngster. That's the truth, yeah. And the funny thing as well is that I heard someone say yesterday, yeah, that he's playing Ahmad and he's playing someone else. But when we're talking about youngsters, we're talking about players that are 19, 20. Ahmad's what, 23 now. So again, he doesn't want to play the youngsters, and he's not going to play the youngsters when his job is on the line. You know, we spoke about this before. So Gav, it's player power. Again, club wanted Bruno out. Why is he still in the United shirt with a fucking captain's armband? But again, bro, this is the biggest mystery, you know. When Ruben Amorim came into the club, yeah, part of me was thinking, you know, he might let Bruno go, or he might, he might try to phase him out, or let other players have their chance. He's been just like Ten Hag. In actual fact, yeah, he's probably played Bruno more than probably any other manager. So he's been even worse, probably, yeah. And not to mention he's a compatriot as well. So yeah, it's nonsense, man. It's absolute nonsense. And I know you guys watched the Man United and Bournemouth game, yeah? Did you guys see the wall when Marcus Tavernier scored the free kick? Yeah? Just go and have a watch, yeah? Manchester United's supposed captain. Just go and have a watch of how he dangled his leg out. Because between him and Cunha, the criticism has to go on to either one of them. But if you just watch Bruno, how he put a lazy leg out and the ball went through where he was, that will tell you why he's no captain. And I don't think many people picked up on that. But just go and watch the lazy leg that Bruno put in, which meant that the ball went through. And to be fair, people will say Lemens should have saved it. I think he should have at least got a hand to it. But he was blindsided by the wall. But that's why the wall's there, to go and do their job. So yeah, go and have a watch back, guys, if you get a chance, of how Bruno Fernandes just put a lazy leg out and how the ball went through there, you know? And then you'll see why that's not no captain. Yeah, we are designed to work around the wrong player. I agree. I think Bruno Fernandes, for me, yeah, he's the most protected player, the most protected average player that I've seen at Manchester United. Like, he's been more protected than any other player I can remember. You know, the most protected player I can remember, and he's the shittest out of all them. Like, you think of Ronaldo wasn't protected the way that Bruno has been. Even the likes of Beckham, Van Nistelrooy, Scholes, all these players back in the day, Bruno Fernandes, for me, from what I've seen, has been the most protected player at Manchester United. Yeah, and it's one of them things where you have to ask yourself why that is, and you have to ask yourself why the standards at this club are at an all-time low. You know, we are that bad. You know, it's not even like it's not even a surprise no more. Like, the stands at this club are at an all-time low. You know, look at what David Moyes got sacked for. You can't tell me that David Moyes is doing a worse job than Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim's a lot worse than David Moyes. As I said, Ruben Amorim, for me, has been the worst Manchester United manager to date. You know, I'd argue that with anyone. With anyone, you know. Big up to Foxy Danny as well. Big up Niche fan says, Ahmad is our real 10. Only real 10. 100%, man. 100%. You still get people thinking that Ahmad's a winger or a wingback, you know. And again, he's a number 10 by trade. But because he's been playing so much of his career out wide, you know, you can see that he's probably a bit more used to that position. But I still want to see Ahmad in a 10. You know what I mean? But in a 10, in a different system, in the 4-2-3-1. Cunha is more of a 9 to me. Ahmad is a pure 10. Well, if you look at Cunha when he played for Atletico Madrid, yeah, he was actually playing as a 9. But you can see Cunha's not a 9. He's a number 10. And the reason for that is, even when Cunha first went to Wolves, if you remember, Cunha was playing as the number 9 for Wolves. I remember the game at Old Trafford. You know, he actually played as the 9. And then you can see that he's got so much ability. It's like he's someone that just needs to get on the ball. So for me, maybe when he first came through, he was a 9. But there's no doubting right now that Cunha's a 10. He is a 10. He's a 10 in a 4-2-3-1, playing just behind the striker. He's a left 10 in this system. And then even if you want to play a 4-3-3, he can play sort of left wing, but have like a free role. So yeah, I don't see Cunha right now as a 9. And the fact that this manager keeps playing him there because he wants to shoehorn Mason Mount in the team and then have Xerxes on the bench is why this manager needs to go, you know? So it's ridiculous, man. Guys, come on, let's make sure we're smashing the like button. We've only got 6 likes. Smash the like button if you're enjoying the content. We're going to get on to Bruno's comments and touch on that. Just go through a few more of your comments. I want Ahmad to get the number 7 after Mount. Bro, the fact that Mason Mount has number 7 on his back is a crime to football. It's the same way I have to watch Jude Bellingham with number 10 on his back for England. I mean, I don't think people deep, yeah, just how bad that is. When you see the amount of number 10s that have come out through the years, like he's wearing the same shirt number as Ronaldinho and Zidane and Lionel Messi and Neymar. Like deep that. Maradona, Pele. You know what I mean? He's wearing the same number as them guys. Like, I don't think people deep how bad it is. So when I see Mount with 7 and Jude wearing 10, yeah, football's just in the bin right now, man. Has to be. Yeah, big up, my guy. DX, big up, man. I keep hearing, where would we be without Bruno? We lost 2 Europa finals and finished 8th and 15th with him. There you go. There's your answer. And again, the thing is, people are gonna continuously defend Bruno Fernandes. They are. You're never really gonna come to a clarification on this player, because some fans just don't want to understand it, you know, and this is the problem, you know. And if fans don't want to understand it, then that's their problem, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. But when you get some fans trying to police what you're saying and try and tell you, you know, to rate this player, it's like the evidence is there. When Bruno needs to step up, he doesn't. I mean, the free kick that he scored against Bournemouth, as I said, I'm not Bruno Fernandes' biggest fan, but I don't have no agenda against anyone. I just say what I see. And that free kick was a top-class free kick, no doubt in it, yeah? Was it a bit harsh that the free kick was given? I think it was, but I think we have to give credit to the free kick. You know, it was a great free kick, and I think there was no one that was saving that. It doesn't matter who was in goal, no one was saving that. So you give credit where credit's due. But that shouldn't blind anyone into thinking that this player is still a massive problem at this club. Just gonna go through some of go. I'm just gonna go through. So you are giving him credit or not? What do you mean? I'm giving him credit for the free kick, not for the fact that he keeps being shoehorned into this team. So yeah. But anyway, gonna go through some of his comments, guys, because again, we have to realize, yeah, what is the agenda for Bruno in terms of the interview. Yeah. So he's accused the club of trying to force him out. Believes certain directors were keen to cash in on him. Yeah. Now, from just hearing that, yeah, when he's saying certain directors, yeah, he has to be meaning either Ineos or the Glazers. So whoever he's meaning about certain directors, yeah, again, just come out and say who you think it is. The problem is now, he's now created a problem for himself, because if you're the Glazers or Ineos, they will know full well that Bruno is obviously talking about them. So what are they going to do? Are they going to let Bruno just get away with what he said and try to call them into question? Or are they going to reprimand him? Because if I'm Ineos, you know, I'm calling Bruno to the side and just asking him, what is this all about? You know, and letting him know, you know, you'll be on your way. Because he's basically calling them out, saying they tried to force him out. They tried to force him out the club. Yeah. And again, let's understand this, yeah, with Bruno Fernandes. And it's about just using your brain, yeah. If the club were trying to force Bruno Fernandes out the club, in what world does he think it's a good idea to stay in? The club are clearly showing that they don't really want you anymore. You know, if you're with a woman or with your wife, and your wife turns around and says to you, "Look, I found someone else and I want to split up with you. You know, I want to divorce, and it's time for you to go." What are you gonna do? Hang in there and just hope she changes her mind? If she's told you that she wants a divorce, like, you have to be a man and just say, "Look, it was fun. It was fun while it lasted, but I'm seeking other avenues." The fact that he's come out and said the club didn't want him, yeah, and all of a sudden he's now stayed, it's like, that's contradictory for me, you know. And the fact that he's come out and said that, yeah, doesn't really make any sense. The reason why Bruno Fernandes stayed at Manchester United, yeah, is because Bruno Fernandes knows full well what he's been given at Manchester United, he's not getting elsewhere, in terms of the captaincy, in terms of how he's allowed to just do whatever he wants from a playing perspective. Yeah, that is the only reason. Because if he goes elsewhere, he's got to fall in line. It's as simple as that. Manchester United is the only club that is allowing him to do what he wants. So that's the reason why he stayed. When he comes out with all this other nonsense about, you know, his family was settled, this and that, you know, it's just nonsense, really. The facts are, Manchester United have given him the platform to go and do whatever he wants. He's the highest paid player at the club. He's the captain. He does whatever he wants. He plays every game. He's on every set piece, as I said, and the penalties. So he can do whatever he wants. So really and truly, let's cut the crap. I'm not here for this nonsense that Bruno Fernandes feels the club wanted to force him out. If the club's forcing you out, you go. You don't stay, because they've let you know that they're looking to move you on. But we all know why he stayed, is because he's not getting the loving elsewhere. It's as simple as that. Simple as that, man. You know. Let's go through the other ones. Al Hilal offer 100 million worth a reported 700 grand per week. Yeah. Now, guys, let me know in the chat, yeah, because, you know, big up to all the newcomers as well. Guys, make sure you're smashing the like. Make sure you're subbing to the channel. But let me know in the comments, guys. And again, people will probably not tell you the truth, or they might just say what you want to hear, basically, yeah. If you're a professional footballer, and bearing in mind Bruno's what? He's 30, I think he's 31, yeah? If Saudi come in and they want to offer you 700 grand a week, seriously, are you going to turn that down? Because I'll be honest with you, you'll be a fool to turn that down. Like people might say he loves the club, he does this, he does that. That's a lie. In my opinion, what I think's happened, yeah, they come forward with an offer, and Bruno was thinking, do I go to Saudi to earn more money, or do I stay at Manchester United where, he's adored by the section of the fans? As I said, he's the captain. He gets to do whatever he wants. That's what I think would have been in his mind in terms of thinking, do I go or do I not go? Yeah. But I'm sorry, yeah. He's 31. And again, this links in with what he said, yeah. He thinks he hasn't fulfilled his dreams at Manchester United. When I heard that, yeah, I laughed, because what are these supposed dreams that Bruno hasn't fulfilled? Does he think he's going to win a Premier League title under Manchester United? Because he's not. Does he think he's winning a Champions League with Manchester United? He's not. So these dreams that he's trying to fulfill, he's talking nonsense. He's talking nonsense. The real reason he doesn't want to leave is what I said. He's been given everything at this club, and he'll look at it as there's absolutely no reason for him to go. That is the truth. I don't want to be hearing that Bruno Fernandes doesn't want to leave because he hasn't fulfilled his dreams. There's no dreams to fulfill. Like, it's as simple as that. And I can't believe that there's people actually buying this. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And as I said, to get offered 700 grand a week, tax-free, yeah, at the age of 31, I'm sorry. I just don't understand why you would turn that down as a professional footballer. Football's not what it was before. It's not what it was before. Like, if you had the likes of a Ryan Giggs, a Paul Scholes, players that come through the youth, a Gary Neville, I will believe it more if these players turned it down, because these guys are Manchester United through and through. Bruno Fernandes came from Sporting Lisbon. He's not a Manchester United fan. Let's be serious. He's not. Like us, we're Man United fans. He's not, yeah? And you mean to tell me he got offered 700 grand a week and he's turned it down because he's got unfinished business. He's got to fulfill dreams. That's the biggest load of bollocks I've heard. I have to be honest. And people should ask him, what are these dreams you need to fulfill? Because I can tell you this for free. If he thinks he's going to win a Champions League or a Premier League title with him in the team, it ain't going to happen. So let's cut the crap, as I said, man, and just look at Bruno Fernandes as the guy's just lying to us about fulfilling dreams. He's lying. Yeah? Moving on. He rejected because of his affection for the club and family considerations. Again, a load of bollocks, this really. Yeah? If Bruno Fernandes really loved the club, yeah, he wouldn't come out with this interview in the first place. Like, he wouldn't come out of this. What he's done now with this interview, he's called Ineos, really, and the Glazers. He's called them out, really, by saying there's certain directors that try to force him at the club. Why don't you name them then? But he's never going to do that. But if you're them, as I said earlier, you'll be having a word with him and saying to him, what's this all about? And seeing where you go from there. But to think that Bruno is saying his affection for the club, this guy was clearly, yeah, in discussions with Saudi. As I said, I mentioned Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, Ryan Giggs, yeah? These guys wouldn't even entertain these offers. There was times where them players could have moved on, but they would never entertain the offers. Why? Because they're Man United through and through. The fact that Bruno Fernandes entertained the offer, and I don't blame Bruno for entertaining the offer, because the money that's on offer is mind-boggling. So anyone with a brain is going to do that. But to start saying that, his affection for the club and all this nonsense and people buy it, it's like, come on, man, you ain't fooling anyone. If you have affection for the club and Saudi come in for you, you just shut it down straight away. It's as simple as that. I'll be honest. If I was in Bruno's position and they offered me that money, you know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. I'll say, yeah, like I'm off, because that is life-changing money, of course. Like, I don't like people that start saying, Bruno's not good. Bruno loves the club and this and that. If he loved the club, he wouldn't entertain it first off. He was in discussions, And I believe because he was and ahhing too much, Saudi just turned it around and said, you know what? Right, we're gonna move on. That's what I believe happened. I think he was taking too long, trying to weigh things up. And again, he's weighing up the fact that if he leaves Manchester United, all the luxuries that he's been given at this club is not going to be there anymore. And he chose the fact that how he gets treated by Man United, really, I say over money, but they probably just moved on because of that. And the facts are, the facts are, he didn't really choose Manchester United, the luxury he's getting. He had to choose that because he took too long. Saudi went elsewhere, and then Bruno's obviously thinking, I've got it good at Manchester United. But when he starts coming out with all this affection for the club, it's a complete lie. And again, people should stop buying into this rubbish. He don't love the club. He doesn't love the club like you and I. I've been supporting Man United ever since I was young. Bruno hasn't. He hasn't. It's as simple as that. So, crazy, man. Moving on to Ruben Amorim. Yeah? So, Bruno's obviously said that Ruben Amorim was a massive factor in Bruno staying. Again, this ain't a surprise. It's what we've been saying at the start of the summer anyway, yeah? And again, this is why Bruno Fernandes and Ruben Amorim together are a massive problem for this club. They're a massive problem. You've got an inept manager and you've got a careless footballer, and he's the captain. And you wonder why we're in the shambles we are. Again, not solely on them. You have to look up upstairs. But from a playing perspective, these two are the biggest problem. I've been saying this for ages, yeah? And as I said, man, the fact that Ruben Amorim was crucial in Bruno staying, why the hell was it left in Ruben Amorim and Bruno's court? You see what I mean? The fact that it was left down to Bruno and Amorim to call the shots if Bruno stays, it shows you that we're not a serious outfit. It doesn't. You think that can go on at Real Madrid? You think that will go on at Barcelona? You think that will go on at Bayern Munich? Any top club where a manager and the player are deciding that they stay? I mean, I've never heard such nonsense in my life. And the fact that, Bruno and Amorim, more or less, and I said this before, Bruno and Amorim are more or less running this team. They are. You can see it. You've got an inept manager, as I said, and you've got the captain who is allowed to go and do whatever he wants. Yeah, even Juventus. Any top team in the world are not going to allow a failing manager and a player that should have been moved on a couple of years ago to dictate to the club that they want to stay. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make any sense. So the fact that that was allowed, again, you have to look at Ineos and think what the hell is going on. So again, I'm not surprised that Amorim was a big factor in Bruno staying, because all you got to look at really is the fact that he plays Bruno every game. So I'm not surprised by that. The club's willingness to sell him hurt him a lot. Again, if the club's willingness to sell you, Bruno, hurt you, fuck off and go. Why are you still here? Like, this to me just seems like a sympathy vote. Like, he wants to get fans on side by saying he loves the club and, he wants the fans now to start believing in him. As I mentioned earlier, if you're married and your wife blatantly tells you she wants a divorce, are you going to hang around and try and make it work? You're not. You're going to man up and just say, you know what? It was good while it lasted, but now I'm off. So he's been told by Manchester United that they don't really want him, but yet he still decides to stay. And as we said already, we all know why he did stay. It's because he knows he's got it good at Manchester United, And can I blame Bruno for staying at Man United? I can't, because as I said, he's been given the keys to the kingdom, and it's one of them things for me that this should have been taken out of his hand. And this is the major problem. You've got a player and an inept manager running the club. This is why I keep saying, yeah, this is Bruno Chester United. This isn't Manchester United. It's Bruno Chester United. I've never seen a player at Manchester United being given so much like Bruno Fernandes has been given. Like literally, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But as I said, the club's winners to sell him hurt him a lot. So why didn't you go then? Put your money where your mouth is. Why didn't you go? You know what I mean? Again, we touched on the fulfilling his dreams. I mean, this fulfilling his dreams nonsense, yeah, made me laugh, as I said, because I think someone needs to ask him what it is that he wants to fulfill at Manchester United. I would love someone to ask him the question, you know, because to me, that makes no sense. How long has Bruno been at Man United now for? What? 6 years, 7 years? I think he's been at Man United. But yet, he still thinks he's got dreams to fulfill. The guy's 31 years of age, yeah? He's on a decline. But yet, he still thinks that there's dreams to fulfill. I would like to know these dreams. I would love to know them dreams. Talking shit. You know what I mean? And you know what, yeah? This one I'm going to read on to, which is the last one, yeah? Which is one of the main ones that I picked out from. And again, as a captain that he's meant to be, this is poor. Because the comments that I've read, yeah, he's more or less called his teammates into question. Now, if you're a experienced guy like Casemiro, or if you're, again, Casemiro's the only one really, because he's the only winner at the club. But if you're a Casemiro, or you're I'm trying to think who's been there for a bit longer. Even if you're a Maguire or a Luke Shaw, yeah, you have to be looking at Bruno differently now. Because when I read this, I thought the cheek of Bruno Fernandes to come out with this, knowing that he's still at the club and knowing he's got to play with his players. Not to mention some of the antics that he's been doing, yeah? So Bruno says he's expressed his frustration that he sees other players who he feels do not value or defend the club with the same effort. So Bruno's basically trying to say, you know, he's the only one really that shows that he loves the club. Yeah? But what you've done there, really, you've called your teammates into question. Now, if you're a teammate of Bruno Fernandes and you got anything about yourself, because, again, why don't you name these players? If you're going to come out of an interview like that, name who you're talking about. You know, you can't just be generic and say some players don't care for the club, etc. Why don't you name these players? So again, he's calling out players, yeah, in his team, and it's one of them things where you're calling out players, and if I'm them, I'm questioning Bruno Fernandes and what he means by this. You see what I mean? So for me personally, this interview that he's done is not really going to help his cause in terms of his teammates and in terms of the hierarchy. You know, because for me, something does need to happen. Because you can't have a player do an interview, and it doesn't matter if it was a couple of weeks ago. You know, it's still a fresh interview. You cannot have a player doing that and getting away with it, really. Like, you can't have that. And as I said, if you're a Casemiro and Bruno's saying he felt that there's some players that he feels don't express the or value or defend the club, Casemiro's a winner, mate. What are you talking about? He's a winner. And it's one of them things for me where Casemiro has to get on to Bruno Fernandes for coming out with that. You know? I'll be very interested to see if any of these players start questioning Bruno Fernandes or start side-eyeing him, because for me, when I read that, that was just poor. That was just poor because, you know, when you're playing for a football team, man, it's 11 players, you know, on the pitch, you know, but to call your players out like that in public is poor. You know, these are the kind of things you do behind closed doors. But the fact that he's done it in an interview is just poor. So again, I want to see what goes on after this, because something needs to happen, man. You can't have a player that thinks they're bigger than the club coming out and doing this. You can't have that. So yeah, that's what I got to say on that, guys. You know, again, let me know what you think in the chat from what I've said, and let me know if you have a difference of opinion as well, and we can debate it, man. But I just think him doing this interview, yeah, I think he's made himself look stupid, and I want to see what Ineos and what the Glazers actually think of this, really, because I just think it's poor, man. You know, so let's go through some of your comments. Guys, make sure you're smashing the like button as well. Make sure you're subbing to the channel. I'm worried PSG will take Ahmad. Boy. To be honest with you, man, I think Man United are not foolish to let Ahmad go. Put it that way, yeah. But and again, you have to look at the amount of wide players or tens that. Well, again, the formation that PSG play, they play a 4-3-3. So they've got a lot of players. You think of Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Doué, Barcola. They can all play in the wide areas. But listen, Ahmad's a top player, man. And I feel sorry for Ahmad because you've got a player like Ahmad, high in quality, that is doing up wing back. I've never seen it. So, again, this manager is just, what he's doing is just a crime to football, you know? Yeah, I've seen that one. I want Ahmad to get the number 7 after Mount. Let's go through. Gav, in a scenario where Bruno, Casemiro and Ugarte leave in the summer and we still have Mainu, what 3 midfielders do you bring in to replace them? Realistic and dream options. Yeah, big up, my guy. Well, Carlos Baleba, definitely. You know, I know people are not really feeling Carlos Baleba anymore. The reason I want Baleba is what I've said plenty of times, yeah? I want Baleba because, one, he's left-footed to add balance to that midfield. And I think Man United need a player like that, you know, that is a high-energy player, but also can play, you know. So, again, he's not having a good time at Brighton, but he's definitely someone Man United should be pursuing. The dream player for me would be Camavinga in that position, left-footed central midfielder. But, you know, that's unrealistic to get him. But Baleba, for me, still needs to be bought. If we could have a midfield of Baleba, Kobe Mainu, and then you go and get, whether it's an Elliot Anderson or Adam Wharton, then look. And if any other players pop out, I mean, don't forget you got Sekou Kone as well. You know, I want to see Kone get more game time. I can't believe Kone's not even got like 10, 15 minutes to see what he can do. But Baleba for me will still be the first choice, no doubt. And then, as I said, if you can get a Baleba Wharton or a Baleba Anderson to go with Kobe and then bud in Sekou Kone, or if there's an up-and-coming player, then listen, this is what Man United should be targeting. But I'll tell you for free, yeah, I don't want to see another season of Ugarte and Bruno Fernandes. Like, this has to be the end of it, you know? So that's what I'm hoping. But big up, man. Good question. So didn't he say he would stay till the club didn't want him, but he stayed after being forced out? Again, doesn't make sense. Exactly my point. If he feels like he's being forced out, yeah, why are you still here? Like, it doesn't make sense. As I mentioned, if your wife tells you she wants a divorce, yeah, what are you gonna do? You're gonna just hang in there and hope for the best. Doesn't make sense. So, as I said, man, the fact that he feels he's being forced out and you're still here, it's only because, you know, they That he knows what he's got at Manchester United. But again, that decision should have been taken out of his hands. So the Al Hilal offer was gone as soon as they signed Simone Inzaghi. Yeah, but again, Bruno was taking his time. So again, when he starts saying he loves the club, yeah, it's like, well, if you love the club, you wouldn't entertain the offer. The fact that he was umming and ahhing, I think Al Hilal just said, look, we're going to move on. And obviously, yeah, the Simone Inzaghi one might have played its part as well. But there's no one that can tell me that Bruno loves the club because, as I said, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, Nicky Butt, them guys are just turning it down straight away. So I don't even want to hear that, man. That he was that he loves the club and that rubbish. Yep, loves the wage and the freedom. Couldn't disagree. Gav is completely right. Bruno is basically running the team. He can do what he wants. Amrim is shit scared of him. The thing is, I don't think Amrim is shit scared of him. You got to realize that Amrim's his compatriot, so he's gonna favor his Portuguese compatriot, just like he favors Dalot. And obviously, we know that there's obviously things about him and Dalot being relatives as well. So yeah, I wouldn't say he's scared of Bruno, but he looks at Bruno as his like lieutenant. You know what I mean? And the fact that Bruno still does what he wants in this system, you know, he plays every game, is part of the problem. You know, and as long as this manager's here and Bruno's here, it's gonna continue. But don't expect Man United to do anything serious. Manager and boyfriend out. I hear it. I hear it, man. Boy, crazy. So I have this girl that I really love, but our relationship gone south since we transitioned to long distance relationship. Any other advice on how to win her back? I really love her. Bro, listen, my advice to you, man, if you do love her, I hear it, but the reality is, ask yourself this question. Is a long distance relationship really gonna work? It's not, is it? Like these things are difficult. So yeah, my advice would be just move on, man. Like, I know you really love her, but you can learn to love someone else. That's the truth. But yeah, long distance relationship is difficult, man. Um, Hopefully you can try and make it work, but I have to be honest, man. I just think that just try and find someone closer to you, man. That's the reality, you know. But yeah, good luck with it. But yeah, that's my advice to you, man. Um, let's see. Big up to Exedra, big up my guy. Was about to sleep, but saw Gav was on. Yeah, big up, man. I keep forgetting, man, you're in Australia, man, and it's mad different times there. So yeah, big up, man, for coming through. Try and see if you can watch the stream back, man. So let me know what you think. Just touching on obviously on Kobe and the Bruno. Bruno seems to think he's head honcho for some reason. But again, why are we surprised? I mean, and again, I don't blame Bruno Fernandes, by the way. I don't blame him because I blame the club. Why the club have made Bruno Fernandes feel like he's invincible is part of the problem. Because a player like that should never be thinking he can just go around doing what he wants. You know, and if you've been given that kind of license, as a player, you're going to take advantage of it. And that's what he's doing. So I don't blame him. I blame the club. Yeah, listen. I've been hearing people saying now we made a mistake in selling Garnacho. Like this is what people are doing now. People are genuinely saying we made a mistake in selling Garnacho. Like, yeah, football's just football's a weird it's a weird sport right now, man. Weird sport. Have you ever been to Bangladesh? No. Baleba Anderson fixes everything. Listen, Baleba Anderson, Kobe Minu, Sekou Kone as a midfield four, I'll be happy with. You know, you could say it's a pretty inexperienced, but again, the best way to get experience is by playing. So yeah, Baleba Anderson, Kone Minu, Baleba Walton, Kone Minu. I'll be happy with that. Put it that way. Put it that way. Yeah, listen. If Man United could get three midfielders, then by all means. But do I see United getting three midfielders? I don't. I think at best probably be two. But I'll tell you this for free, man. I don't want to hear no Conor Gallagher. Like, I don't want to hear none of that rubbish. You know what I mean? So, and again, these Conor Gallagher talks has only been talked about because of Ruben Amorim. So, I don't want to hear no Conor Gallagher talk, man. Like, that can't be a possibility of a signing. Do you know what? Big up Fitz, man. Bruno saw Salah cause a stir, then decided to do an interview, joke, and Salah was frustrated being benched. Bruno plays every minute of every game. Was his point just to prove he's a bigger cunt? You know what? Yeah, listen. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Like Bruno definitely has that in him to do things like that. He definitely has something in him to do that. But yeah, the fact that Salah's done his thing and now Bruno's come out with that, two players that are on the outer from their clubs. Yeah, maybe. I rate Brandon Williams much more than Andy Robertson. Oh god, I remember I had someone try and tell me, yeah, and I could not believe this, yeah. Brandon Williams is shit, by the way, yeah. He's crap, yeah. I had someone try and tell me that Brandon Williams was the next coming of Dennis Irwin. Dennis Irwin. I mean, like they haven't seen Dennis Irwin play. Someone generally told me that Brandon Williams had the potential to be the next Dennis Irwin because he played left back as a right-footed player. You know, ridiculous, man. Someone actually told me that. You know, yeah, crazy, man. Gav, is Van Dijk still a top-class centre-back? Yeah, listen, I'm not going to hate on Van Dijk. I like Van Dijk as a defender. He's definitely not at the level that he once was. But for me, he's still a top-class defender, you know. Going through a bit of a tough time at the moment, you know. But yeah, I still think he's good, man, you know. But I know there's someone in there that don't really rate him that highly, you know. I've never heard a black guy talk like you. Maybe you haven't seen black guys, I don't know. That's crazy, though. Um, he's probably from Essex. I am. Madness. We made a mistake not building around Marcus Rashford. Oh, God. Niche fan, listen, bro. You normally come out with some good takes, man, but this whole Marcus Rashford, nah, man. Listen, I'm not here for them. We should have built around Marcus Rashford. No way. Nah. Listen, Rashford's on loan, and let's just leave it at that. When we start hearing Man United should have built around Marcus Rashford, no, we shouldn't have. You know, we shouldn't have. Yeah, listen, Dennis Irwin was a top fullback, man. Top fullback, I'm telling you. Underrated. But yeah, the guy, I remember the guy telling me that he's got the potential to be the next Dennis Irwin, Brandon Williams. And look how that turned out. I mean, is Brandon Williams even playing football still? Crazy. Yeah, listen, JJ Gabriel, man, he's definitely got something, but from what I've heard recently, he's looking to his family looking to move him on. Just shows you what a shambles Man United are, like, crazy, man. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Yeah, big up, Christopher, man. Big up. How's Van Dijk crap? Now, he's got Konate, whose head has been turned, and 2 new wingbacks to blood into the team. I mean, I don't think we can put that down purely to that. I mean, Van Dijk hasn't been how he's been usually, how he usually has been throughout the years. But as I said, I do think Van Dijk is still good, Yeah, here we go. The top 50 centre-back list. I knew this was going to come up, Listen, I think football's about opinions, man. That's what makes it interesting. You know what I mean? There's some people that don't rate Van Dijk, and there's some people that do rate him. And as I said, it is what it is, Guys, we're going to go for another couple of minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up. Let me know what you think about the Bruno Fernandes situation. Do you think Bruno leaves in January or end of the season? But again, this world class. So Van Dijk is okay, but not world class. What I would say, yeah, there ain't really too many world class players as it is anyway. That's the actual truth. If I'm looking at in Spain, yeah, the world class players, I'm looking at Barcelona. They have, for me, you get players that are just under world class. I like Ronald Araujo, but I think he's a bit injury prone, so you can't put him in there. I think Balde is potential to be world class, but not there yet. But I'm looking at, and the same with Pau Kabasi. The world class players for me in Spain, in Barcelona, are Frankie de Jong, Pedri, and Lamine Yamal. I think Lewandowski was world class, but he's dropped off. I think Rafinha for me is just under world class. But the certified world class players for me are Pedri, Yamal, and Frankie de Jong. Real Madrid, the world class players for me, I would say Thibaut Courtois, Rudiger, Camavinga. I think Arda Güler is potential. And then you got Rodrigo, Mbappe, Vinicius Jr. I think they're world class, I would say. You know what I mean? Some of you might say they might be just under, but I would say they're world class. Nah, Jude Bellingham's not world class, man. Get that name out the chat. He's not world class. He's not world class. Let's stop doing that, man. Let's stop doing that. So yeah, I'll say again, Real Madrid, Courtois, Rudiger, Camavinga. I think Valverde and Tchouaméni, I think might just be under it. But the certified ones for me are Courtois, Rudiger, Camavinga, Vinny, Rodrigo, Mbappe. And then you go on to Atletico Madrid. I would say Julian Alvarez is probably the only one that might just be under world class. Then you go to France. Vitinha's world class for me. Nuno Mendes is world class. Hakimi's world class. I think Fabian Ruiz is just under world class. Dembele's world class. Kvaratskhelia is probably on the fringes. And then you got potential in Doué and Barcola, you would say. Italy, I mean, I don't think Italy have anyone that's world class, really. I think you're probably looking at players that are just under it. Probably Bastoni and Nico Barella. Trying to think. Lautaro, not world class for me. Italy's difficult because they ain't really got anyone world class in that league, which just shows you. I think they might have a lot of players that might just be under it. And then you come to Germany. Harry Kane's world class. Michael Olise's world class. Obviously Neuer's in the Lewandowski mold in terms of dropping off. Um, Joshua Kimmich is probably just under world class, probably. Obviously, Musiala's been out injured, but he's another potential one that could be considered world class as well. But yeah, I'd say Elise and Kane are probably the only two certain world class players for me. And there's no one else in that league, I would say, that are genuinely world class. And in England, again, the world class, there's not too many players. I'm looking at Man City. Obviously, Rodri's world class, but he's been out injured. Donnarumma's world class. You got Ryan Cherky, who's potential. Erling Haaland, you would say, as a goal scorer, is world class. Foden is just under it for me. Reinders, again, is probably just under. And then you go to Arsenal. Arsenal ain't got no one that's world class. You'd probably say Gabriel and Saliba are just under it. If you want to throw in Declan Rice in there as well. They're not world class players, but they might just be under it. And then you've got Chelsea for me. Reece James is world class. Moises Caicedo's world class. Cole Palmer for me is... I think Cole Palmer's world class, but I wouldn't blame if people said he's just under it. That's it. Liverpool. I mean, you've got a bunch of players there that was world class, but probably just under it. The likes of Van Dijk, Alisson. I think Gravenberch is just under it. Salah's dropped off. And was the same like Haaland in it for numbers. And then Wirtz for me is world class, but hasn't been playing like it. So again, the world class tag, man, is few and far between. It's few and far between, man. There's a lot of potential. There's certified ones, but the majority are just not world class players, man. So it's crazy, man. Yeah, Esteval's potential. He's potential. Yeah, Vinicius Jr. was world class, but he's probably dropped off. So he's probably just under that bracket. You know what I mean? Yeah, big up United Kingdom, man. Big up. Oblak. Yeah, I hear it. I hear it. I put Oblak in the Manuel Neuer camp in terms of probably just under it, you know? Kvaratskhelia is world class for me. Yeah, he's a top player, man. He is. Yeah, listen, United fan, listen, get this Bruno Fernandes. As I said to you, man, I want to see what Ineos come out and say. That's what I'm looking to. Barella and Bastoni are world class. I think they're just under world class for me, Barella and Bastoni. Just under. Nico Paz, Keenan Yildiz, yeah, they're potential. They're not world class yet. And again, the world class conversation, there ain't too many players. There ain't. Gerassi's not world class. Let's not do that, man. He's not world class. Vinny or Foden? I mean, they're different players, really. I think it's not. I mean, Foden's a better footballer for me, but Vinny's probably more decisive. You know. Yeah, I'll say Foden's a better footballer, but Vinny's more decisive. You know. Yeah, Benham's got world-class PR. World-class PR, but an average footballer. That's literally what he is. Jamie Vardy, you know. Crazy. But guys, listen up. We're going to wrap it up anyway. Big up yourselves for coming through each and every time. Someone just said steroids. I'm not on steroids. It's just hard work, but don't hate. You know what it is. Um, but yeah, guys, big up yourselves each and every time. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. And make sure you share the channel. And make sure, guys, as well, you give your comments after the stream has ended. And let me know what you think about the Bruno Fernandes debacle. Because, again, the fact that he's come out with this interview and it's been aired now, yeah, what's the angle he's trying to gain from this? That's what I would like to know. You know, but as I said, I want to see what Ineos, what they do, because surely they can't allow Bruno to come out with this interview, even though if it is a couple of weeks old, from what I've heard, they can't allow this. I think something needs to be said. And again, what do his teammates think of him, more or less calling them into question? So yeah, I think something does need to be done, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But guys, as I said, I'll be back at 4 o'clock today. So obviously I'm going to be doing a reaction to my boxing fight that I had 2 weeks ago. I've got a guest coming on as well. Make sure you guys go over and follow him on his Twitch at your boy Truance. So yeah, he'll be coming on today at 4 o'clock, and we're going to discuss obviously my recent boxing fight and go through the good, the bad, and the ugly, really. So yeah, make sure you guys come back through at 4 o'clock, as I said, and give us your comments and questions and let us know what you think. So yeah, big up, guys, for coming through. Smash the like button, sub to the channel. Big up to all the mods as well. Big up to all the newcomers. And as I said, guys, I'll catch you guys back at 4 o'clock. Take it easy.